Thinking of investing? Here's why Vietnam should be on your radar right now. Imagine a country rising from the shadows of history to become Asia's next big success story, a nation attracting billions of dollars in investments while becoming a global manufacturing powerhouse. Yes, we're talking about Vietnam, and the numbers will blow your mind. But what's fueling this rise? Why are global investors racing to stake their claim in Vietnam right now? Stay with me as we uncover the secrets behind this economic miracle. The Vietnam boom. In 2023, Vietnam's economy was on fire. It grew by 8%, making it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Just think about that for a second. While many countries struggled with slowing growth or even recessions, Vietnam stood out. Its total export volume reached a jaw-dropping $372 billion. Vietnam is also a magnet for foreign investments. In 2023 alone, over $20 billion poured into the country, with global companies setting up factories, offices, and supply chains here. This isn't just luck, it's strategy. Here's what's even more fascinating. Electronics make up a massive 40% of Vietnam's exports. Yes, Vietnam is now a tech powerhouse, producing everything from smartphones to semiconductors. But that's not all. Textiles and garments, another major sector, are exported to nearly every corner of the globe. And let's not forget agriculture. Vietnam is the second largest coffee exporter in the world. Imagine the sheer scale of these industries working together to power this nation forward. As you see, Vietnam isn't just growing. It's thriving in industries that matter most in today's world. From technology to green energy, Vietnam is positioning itself as the next big thing in the global economy. But wait, how did Vietnam go from being a developing country to a global economic star? Manufacturing. Vietnam's secret weapon. Vietnam is now being called the factory of the world 2.0, and it's not just because of cheap labor, it's smart strategy. Over the last decade, Vietnam has transformed itself into a manufacturing powerhouse, investing heavily in industrial parks and infrastructure to attract global companies. The results are incredible. Take Samsung, for example. It has poured over $18 billion into Vietnam and now produces nearly half of its smartphones here. Nike and Adidas have also shifted much of their production to Vietnam, making the country a global hub for footwear and apparel. Even Apple suppliers like Foxconn and Pegatron are moving operations to Vietnam. Vietnam's location in Southeast Asia is another big win, with easy access to major markets like China, Japan, and South Korea. It's also part of key trade agreements, such as the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, which reduces export tariffs. But there's more. Vietnam's rise isn't just about costs. Companies are looking to diversify away from China due to trade tensions and rising expenses, and Vietnam has become the top alternative. The shift from China, why Vietnam stands out. Vietnam has become the go-to alternative for companies moving away from China, and the reasons are clear. First, labor costs. Did you know that wages in Vietnam are about 50% lower than in China? But it's not just about cost. It's about timing and strategy. The US-China trade war has shaken up global supply chains, forcing companies to rethink their dependence on China. Another game changer is Vietnam's involvement in major trade agreements. The Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, EVFTA, give Vietnam preferential access to some of the world's biggest markets. For example, the EVFTA has eliminated nearly 99% of tariffs on goods traded between Vietnam and the EU. Vietnam isn't just about factories and exports. Its people and their rising middle class are creating a whole new wave of economic opportunity. Let's dive into that next. The rising middle class. Vietnam's consumer power. Imagine this. Vietnam's middle class is expected to double by 2030, reaching 50 million people. That's a massive change. This means more people with disposable income, and with that comes more spending on everything from smartphones to luxury goods. In 2023, Vietnam's retail market grew by 12%, one of the fastest rates in the world. This is why major global brands like Louis Vuitton, Starbucks, and Apple are expanding rapidly in cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. And it's not just the big brands, the local economy is booming too. Take a look at this image of a luxury mall in Vietnam. It's packed with shoppers, enjoying everything from high-end fashion to gourmet coffee. But with all this rapid growth, there are challenges ahead. So, what's holding Vietnam back? Let's explore that next. Challenges Vietnam faces. The roadblocks. Like any emerging economy, Vietnam faces its own set of challenges. When demand for goods falls in other countries, it can hit Vietnam hard, especially in industries like electronics and textiles. Another key issue is infrastructure. While cities like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City are growing fast, rural areas still struggle with poor roads, limited internet access, and outdated facilities. But perhaps the most urgent challenge is climate change. Did you know that over 40% of the Mekong Delta, one of Vietnam's most important agricultural regions, is at risk of being submerged? This is a major threat to the food supply and the livelihoods of millions of people. Vietnam is facing tough challenges, but it's also taking steps to overcome them. Now, let's get to the big question. Why should you care about all this? Why investors love Vietnam right now? So, why is Vietnam attracting so much attention from investors right now? Let's break it down. First, it has a young, educated workforce ready to take on the world. The average age in Vietnam is just 32, which means there's a huge pool of talent that's eager to work and grow with the economy. Second, Vietnam's government has made it incredibly easy for foreign businesses to set up shop with policies that encourage investment and create a business-friendly environment. Companies from around the globe are flocking here. Now imagine being part of a story where a country is rising to global prominence right before your eyes. Take a look at this image of a tech hub in Vietnam. It's buzzing with startups, innovation, and new ideas. Vietnam is becoming a leader in industries that are shaping the future. With all these advantages, it's easy to see why investors are flocking to Vietnam. The question now is, will you be part of the wave that's making history? Vietnam is no longer just a country. It's a story of resilience, growth, and opportunity. For investors, it's a place where potential meets progress. So, what do you think? Will Vietnam continue this incredible growth, or will the challenges hold it back? Let's start a conversation in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Join me next time as we explore the economies shaping our future.